Well, I feel like the TV industry has done a great job of recreating the worst of the cable ad sales ecosystem in the world of streaming and smart TVs. And that's sad because the problem we had then was it was really hard to buy across the different operators, all of whom sold their own way and were disjoint geographies. And it presented huge measurement problems because it was really hard to understand, especially with the mix of some national satellite and then local cable, like what was going on. And I feel like we've done the same thing now with the combination of the TV OEMs and the large platforms and the TV publishers who are now consolidated and selling across their whole inventory pool. And while that makes business sense for each of the folks on the ad sales side of the house, it makes it extremely challenging for buyers to make smart decisions about where their dollars should go because they can't understand integrated delivery across all the different platforms, and so they can't measure reach and frequency, which, as I recall, is table stakes in advertising. And a further challenge in the ecosystem in the world of walled gardens is you can't always even use the same targeting data and identity spine across everybody, every source of inventory, every place you want your ads to run. And that means the loss of fidelity with each of those matches and each of those targeting data sets is amplified by the fact that you're also fragmenting it. And it creates a terrible experience for consumers to have multiple walled gardens selling to the same marketers because they get massive overfrequency of the same ads.
Absolutely. And so one of the other big challenges across all online digital advertising is the problem of ad fraud. And as CTV has grown, has the problem of ad fraud grown, and what are the sources and reasons for that? What's the state of ad fraud in video right now?
CTV ad fraud is pretty rampant right now, and it's growing fast. And I think that's a function of the growth curve of CTV generally and the knowledge that it's sort of the future. So it is a we rob banks because that's where the money is situation. And there are a lot of different sources of ad fraud. It's everything from bot farms and fake users literally running versions of ad apps to create ad avails that are not real, to a lot of viewership goes back to the days of cable set-top box on, TV off, where you've got a device connected to the TV that is running a streaming app that is auto-playing and delivering ads that nobody could be watching because the TV is off. You've got malfeasance in the advertising supply chain where there are so many intermediaries that it's really hard to track whether what you're getting is really what you thought you were getting. There's outstream advertising being sold as in-stream, so what you thought was a full-screen ad on a TV is actually a non-visible impression at the bottom of a phone. And I think part of the challenge in the marketplace is that these are both, it's a diverse set of sources of fraud and a lack of awareness of the scope of the problem.
And to drill down a little bit more on the issue of outstream and instream, is that a tagging issue? Why is that a particular issue in terms of ad fraud?
I'm not the world's expert on in-stream versus outstream, but my understanding is that a lot of it is that there was a tagging issue, and that the IAB has put forth standards that in theory address that, but that they are not consistently implemented throughout every ad stack on every publisher. And I think it's easy for bad actors to find those holes and do the wrong thing and deliver high CPM ads that were supposed to be sight, sound, and motion on a big screen to devices that are, small or in windows that aren't visible. And, at a $30, $40, $50 CPM, that adds up pretty quick.
Absolutely. And one other topic is the notion of the currency wars, the idea that it's easier if there is just a single measurement that everyone can transact on, but obviously as CTV is still growing, still in a sense relatively new, why is the sense that the currency wars are going on is maybe a misnomer, or just the wrong thinking in terms of what's needed in terms of measurement and standards?
I've been working in many companies to try to provide alternatives to Nielsen for television measurement for more than a decade. And the agenda there really has been to unlock ways of buying and selling TV advertising that are simply not possible with a small panel. And that means advanced targeting, and it means the ability to measure across linear and streaming digitally delivered video together. And you can't really do either of those things without big data sets. And I recently wrote a paper about panels. It's awesome to have a panel that's connected to that. Everything is going to be much higher fidelity, much more accurate if you're able to combine those. But at the end of the day, you need the big data. And so, back when I was in agency land and then at VideoAmp, I think we made a really good run at building out a currency-grade data set that unlocked some of those advertising opportunities. And unfortunately, the competitive, alternative currencies turned into a currency war. And I think it really, on one hand, accelerated the availability of better data sets from the iSpots and VideoAmps and ComScores and Sambas and all the other folks who are doing that. So that's net good. But couching the evolution of measurement in the context of a war, I think, created a lot of uncertainty and created a public perception of the competitive environment that made it seem like there would be a winner and some losers. And I think while there's not support there's not a big enough market to have 10 currencies, I think there need to be at least 2 or 3 data sets that TV gets traded on, because different kinds of data sets are good for different things. Yeah. And so, we just saw in the sort of Paramount Nielsen battle, on one hand, Nielsen's panel plus big data set really does do all those same things as the competitive folks. And it's rolling out slowly, and it took a long time to come to market, but there's a perception that it may be good enough. But I think what Paramount did this time, and also even in 2019 when CBS held out on their Nielsen contract, is show that it is technically possible to run your TV business on something other than Nielsen. And they started an important conversation about whether the incremental cost from a seller's point of view of having whatever company's data makes you enough more money to offset the cost of that data set. And I think that's a rational conversation to have.
Absolutely. And here's to, the oversimplification of, just call it a war is, doesn't really help the dialogue that needs to happen.
We live in a polarized world, and people love binary distinctions because they're easy.
Exactly. So briefly thinking about another, sort of oversimplification, it seems that with all the inventory and all the shifts to CTV, it would seem that CTV is democratizing the availability of ad placements to smaller smaller businesses, small, medium, digital-first businesses to buy TV ads. Is that the case, or is that not the case? And are you concerned if that's not the case?
CTV is absolutely opening up new opportunities for advertisers who've never been able to afford to approach TV before to do so. And in fact, Simulmedia has launched a business called Skybeam that is focused on bringing that capability in a self-service model to small and medium-sized businesses, exactly because they don't have the relationships that it took to buy traditional television. And they're used to using self-service consoles to buy on Google, on Meta, on all the other big platforms already. So they have a way to think about integrating CTV into their portfolio and to doing that at a price they can afford. And as much as I have concerns about AI content generation, if you're a small business, it's a way for you to create a video ad that you would never have been able to afford at the rates of traditional commercial production. So I think we've got a bunch of forces colliding to make it easier than ever for small and medium-sized businesses to advertise on television.